On this episode of On the Mic with Mike and Moose.
And that, I work in the medical field,
Yeah,
and during COVID, business was bad for a lot of places, but in the medical field, business was good,
it was booming.
and not in a good way.
Yeah,
We saw more people. What came out of our relationship to different grants and money that was coming in, that was ARPA funds, things that were different grants that were coming in. We were able to actually start a mental health program at my clinic that was episode 7 of On the Mic with Mike and Moose.
da da da.
Yeah, this is your boy Moose coming to you live, or live to me, from just outside of Birmingham, Alabama.
And this is Mike coming live to you on the outskirts of Moore, Oklahoma, technically Oklahoma City.
Funny. So, hey man, a lot of stuff's happened since the last time we recorded.
Yeah,
Thunder are NBA champions.
thunder, feel the thunder. Sorry, I had to do it.
It only took them 7 games. I thought they were going to give that thing away.
Now listen, it was 7 games, but I believe this is just my belief, and it's very possibly wrong, that we wanted to win it right here in town, where the OKC people would just go back completely insane over it. So,
And this is Katie.
Katie,
Kitty. She's my daughter's cat. She
That-
named her after Bad Bad Kitty. That's Bad
Oh.
Kitty's name is Katie. So she's a
speaking
cat.
of,
So she's probably going to jump up here a few times during this recording. So
speaking
Anyway.
of thunder, SGA, if you're watching this, signed today the largest NBA deal in NBA history.
wow.
He's staying with the Thunder, buddy.
I saw yesterday there was a big. I know we got to get on to our episode, but yesterday there was a trade that happened between the Jazz and the Hornets, and probably the two most dynamic basketball players of the last quarter century for the University of Alabama are going to be playing with each other. They didn't play with each other in Alabama, but now you got Colin Sexton and Brandon Miller.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
That's going to be I think it's going to be a fun dynamic to see, because both of them are they're legit. I thought, in my lifetime, up until 2 years ago, Antonio McDyess was probably the best basketball player that I'd ever seen in person play at Alabama.
Yeah.
And Colin Sexton was probably number 2. But now they're 2 and 3, and Brandon Miller's number 1.
That's
So
awesome.
it's going to be interesting to see. But anyway, I digress. We're here to talk about mental health, and kind of talk about what our views are on mental health, how we have struggled with our mental health, and hopefully we can be an inspiration and be that push to get for somebody to get the help that they need.
Come on.
So I know that you've been pretty open about your mental health,
Yes, sir.
and how you were almost on the brink. I'm assuming, just based off, and I've never had this conversation. I'm assuming part of that had something to do with your weight and just being in pain, and just kind of everything that comes with being a 450-pound adult male.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of it did come with that, and a lot of it came from childhood best friend, something that happened there, and COVID, the Rona, all of that into one, and it was the perfect storm. I had what we would used to call back in the day medically complete nervous breakdown. That's exactly what I had.
Yeah, I understand that. I work in the medical field.
Yeah.
And during COVID, business was bad for a lot of places, but in the medical field, business was good,
It was booming.
and not in a good way.
Yeah.
We saw more people. What came out of our relationship to different grants and money that was coming in that was, ARPA funds, things that were different grants that were coming in. We were able to actually start a mental health program at my clinic that was completely free.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
wish it was free for me, but it's not. I have to pay for it, but I get grant money for that, but it's free for our patients, which is
That's
huge
awesome.
because our patients, we are a free clinic. So our patients don't have the money and they don't have the resources to go get mental health care like you or I would who have insurance. So, but I digress. Again, I don't want to ever use that word because I want to get back on topic.
Yeah.
I too have had some issues with my mental health. Um, I don't want to go too much into it because I have relationships that I still have to work with. But a lot of it stems around from the years leading up to my divorce in 2016. Um, I still have some defense mechanisms that came from that.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I was on medication. I was taking Wellbutrin XL,
Yeah.
and that was my drug of choice um, for my depression. I'm glad to say that I no longer have to take that. Um, but that's not the case for a lot of people. A lot of people, once they're on it, they have to stay on it, and it just gets to the point to where you have to sit there and there's I feel like there's certain things you have to do, like just like everything else is a process. If you want to get your mind right up here, you got to go through that process, and it's not going to happen overnight.
No, it's not.
I know we've mentioned a little bit about your friend and kind of the situation that went on there,
Yeah.
but I too ballooned up bigger than what I've ever been.
Yeah.
And so I know that the combination of everything you know, that goes with it, that's why I assumed that was part of the issue because you get to the point where you're just in pain all the time, and then mentally you're worn out and you don't know where to go, and you wish that you could just take a happy pill and everything would just kind of go away,
Yep.
but it doesn't happen that way. So um, I don't know if you want to kind of go through your struggles. I can go through mine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'll keep it very brief. So my whole life, I've dealt with mental illness of some type or another. My mother was dual diagnosed. She had schizophrenia,
your biological mother.
a biological mother, and she was schizophrenic and was a heroin user. And so that does not make a good combination whatsoever. Uh, the majority of my siblings have schizophrenia as well, or some type of depression. Because of that, I ended up with the legit version. Not that I have ADHD. I have the real ADHD. If you spend more than 2 minutes around me, you see every precursor of it. So I dealt with that, but I grew up in the family where we ain't gonna take Ritalin because it's gonna make you go blind. That was the '80s for you, and so I didn't take it. So my parents thought a good spanking would take care of my ADHD, and I went through that. And then as I got older, I dealt with some more mental stuff, depression. Uh, then in 2017, out of the blue, I had surgery, and when I woke up from the surgery, I was never the same. I woke up with obsessive compulsive disorder, and have not been able to shake it. I've given it to God, trusted God, and same with my ADHD. But I go to a counselor. Also, I take medication. Like right now, I had to switch from taking Adderall to Vyvanse. And so for me to be able to function, you might say, well, that's a cop out. No, it's not. I have to take it every day to where I can function to be productive throughout the day. So someone who has ADHD, when they take one of those kind of medications, now if you took it and if you don't have ADHD, it will be a stimulant to you. But for someone who has real ADHD, it is basically like taking Benadryl. it slows you down. It makes you tired. And that's what it does for me. And it gets me focused to where I can think where I need to. But nonetheless, in 2022, I ended up going into the mental hospital, had a nervous breakdown, wanted to end my life, wanted to drive off the cliff in Pensacola, Florida, end it all. I talked to my wife about it. She made me go get checked into the facility. Went there. God forever changed my life. I was able to talk to him. I was able to get on the right medication that would help me get to where I need to be. Now, some of that medication, praise God, I don't have to take anymore. But during that time, I did. I still see a counselor. You want to know how many times a month? 2 times a month. I go to see a counselor. It helps me. And those sessions are not just 15, 20-minute sessions, they're an hour and a half. So in a month's time, I see a counselor for 3 hours altogether, take my medication, and yes, give it to God. But during that time, that nervous breakdown, I didn't think I was going to make it. I thought that I was going to leave this world. And I'm not going to lie to you. I still struggle with those thoughts still to this day, but I have to take the thought captive. I have to say, God, help me with that. Now, that's where God's really helped me more than anything. It's where I can, when I think that I don't need to be here anymore, I'm like, no, devil, get away from me. And then I call my counselor and I take my medication. And I also will say this, a lot of people won't like this, but when I changed my diet up, it changed everything. Because when you're eating nothing but carbs and nothing but just fatty things all the time and drinking these but full of sugar, bro, I used to drink 12 of these a day, the normal ones. So, that was something I did. Yeah. Coke Zero. Yeah.
I mean, I used to drink a lot of regular Coke as well.
Yeah. And that's what sent me there. But when I've gotten my weight underhand, went to the counselor, went to God, take my medication, I'm good. I'm good. But that doesn't mean that I don't wake up some days like, why am I here? There's some days I have to push even to go to church to be a pastor. And if some of my members are hearing, it's not because of you, just because I'm dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not because of friends or family.
I think that's that's one of the hardest things because, so I don't know if you and I have ever talked about this per se. I met Jessica when I was 17 years old. She was 14. It was my senior year of high school. She was a freshman coming in, and we had drama together. So she's known me. So I'm 43 now. She's 40. So we've known each other since the August of '99. So we've known each other almost 26 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so Jessica's known me since I was a teenager. And one of the things that she has commented on since we reconnected in 2016 was how much I've changed in that regard. I have defense mechanisms because I have some PTSD, and it's not a bad thing. Like it's not like a huge thing, but I have triggers that whenever that issue comes up, I will throw up that defense mechanism, and it upsets her. But sometimes I have to say, look, I'm having a bad mental health day.
Oh, yeah.
I've mentioned it before. I mentioned it a couple episodes ago about, I had 7 life events that happened to me that were so detrimental within like a 2-year period. And then you go back 2 years before that, I was in school to get my PhD, and I don't know what was going on with me up here. And it could be that I have ADD or ADHD. I don't know. I've spoken with Jessica about this before about getting tested. Of course, in order to be diagnosed, you have to go through a psychiatrist, an MD, who's a psychiatrist to get that actual diagnosis. And I was the type of person growing up. The school always came pretty easy for me. Now, when I got to college, because I'm talking about when I got my undergrad 25 years ago. I struggled my first year. Um, Part of that is because I didn't have to study much going through school, and I had to teach myself how to study. But after that, I was able to take a really low grade point average my first year, and I got it up over 3 by the time I graduated. And then I worked for a few years, made a 4.0 in my master's program, and even my doctoral program. When I left, I had like a 3.4 grade point average. So I've never really had issues, but I was having issues there, and I did not finish my PhD at West Virginia. And then I had everything go on 2 years later, where my marriage was kind of falling apart. And then we had like I said, I had seven different life issues happen within 2 years. And bro, when we separated, I went a week without eating. Like, even though there was relief from the kind of the mental side of it, as far as like no more fighting. I knew there was going to be no more fighting. There was still the stuff like my daughter, and just the fact that I was with somebody for essentially 6 years, every day, almost every day. Really, it just hit me, and so I went through. I was about. I had been off my medications for a while, but I knew at that point I had to get back on.
Oh yeah.
And so, but of course, that's also the time around the time that my faith was being resurrected. And so, I was able to get involved with church again, like I've mentioned before. Um, and I have seen a psychiatrist. It's been a long time since I've seen somebody. I probably do need to go to counseling. And I've been contemplating it anyway. But uh, just seeing other people who have those bad mental health days, who need the help, um, I see what kind of benefit getting help other than just what is, you know, read your Bible, go to church, talk to your pastor. And I don't think that those are bad things to do. I'm not. Don't get me wrong there. I think that's part of the process of getting your head straight. So, you taking pictures of us doing our
Yeah,
thing?
I was. I
so,
sure was.
so I saw that.
Yep.
So anyway, people have been given God given talents,
Yep.
and like we're here in my church and just outside of Birmingham, we actually have a counselor that is on site. He is not part of our church as far as like under the umbrella of our church, but we do know that he is a faith based counselor and is an option for people who need it. And he just has a spot. He has an office space in our church. The same way, and I know the other big Baptist churches in the same town of Trussville, they have the same thing, and that's very common in our area. I don't know how it is in Oklahoma, but that's common.
Yeah.
But I mean, even if it's not a church based uh, counseling service, that doesn't mean that they're not gifts from God to be able to do what we need to do in order to get our head straight. So I think that for me, the main thing that I tell people all the time is it's not like a switch, like a light switch. You're not just going to go up and flip it and everything's going to be great.
Oh yeah.
Snips of snails, puppy dog tails, sugar spice, everything nice. That just doesn't happen. But if you, just like your walk with Christ, your walk with your faith, you're not going to become an expert. And I'm going to tell you, you'll probably never become an expert when it comes to just your faith. You're going to become very knowledgeable. You'll become more knowledgeable, but it's still just a process of a never ending process to get right with your faith. Just like your mental health is a never ending process. I mean, you and I, like if I met you on the street, if I had never had that conversation with you, if I never heard you say that you were at the precipice of ending your life 3 years ago, and I met you on the street, or I met you, on live online, I would never guess that.
Yeah.
But it's not like you just said, "I need help now," and then you feel like you got to a certain point, and then you cut all that off, and now you're just fine. That's not how it works.
No, no, some days are worse than others. And there's some days where I have to, like with my council, that's our deacons, elders, kind of in the IPHC, they're kind of rolled up into one. With that, when I'm having a bad day, I send them a text. And a lot of people say, well, that's not smart. These are people that you, quote unquote, have to answer to or keep you accountable. And I said, you just said the word accountable. And I said, when I'm having a good day, I don't need them to hold me to that. And accountability is not just for bad behavior. Accountability is for your mental headspace. So
Right.
I'll send them a message and say, hey, I need you today. And since I've been here 3 years, I've probably done it once each year, at least 3 times where I've said, hey, today is a rough day.
Yeah.
And a lot of pastors won't do that, bro. They just will not. People who are pastors or counselors or therapists, they are the world's worst at getting help. Because at one time, we can't say the word anymore. We used to be called therapists as pastors. Now, unless we have that therapy degree, we have to call ourselves a coach. And
Right.
we cannot say we're giving therapy to anyone anymore. It has to be coaching sessions.
Or pastoral care.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. But you remember the days where it was called therapy as well. And so us that give coaching, therapy, whatever, are the world's worst at getting it themselves.
Right.
And so I've helped other people, so many people, to the glory of God in their situations while struggling with mine. I've been at the table, like at a table or behind my desk, helping other people, seeing them get victory, smiling, and them working through their situation while I'm broken on the inside, just pushing through to still be there in the moment with them.
And I think that's why whenever we talk about prayer requests,
Yeah.
your pastors need prayers as well.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about it now. Think about the pastor, at the small church. When I say the small church, I mean like 50 or less. Probably the only person, all the problems,
Yep.
all the hospital visits, all the funerals, all the weddings. I
Yep.
mean, everything is kind of put on them, and that's just for a small one. And then you get up. We talked about your congregation.
At 100. Yeah.
Says sometimes it's a little less than 100, sometimes a little more than 100, but you average about 100.
Yeah.
So you double that. And I know that you have another pastor that's there with you, that's under you, correct?
Yeah. Two of them.
You're blessed to be able to do that. But there's a lot of churches that are your size. There's one person.
That's it. Yep.
And then the ones that help out are not on staff; they're volunteers.
Yep.
Now, and of course, our church is like I said, we probably got about 5 or 6 pastors, but we've got what I call the triangle. We've got a senior pastor, executive pastor, missions pastor.
Yeah.
And then we've got our youth pastors and our children's minister and everything like that. So that's a little different, but still, if we have an elementary school kid that is needing to speak to somebody, we don't send them to our senior pastor. We send them to our children's minister.
Yep.
Whereas somebody like you or somebody who doesn't have that support, that 7-year-old's coming to you just like that 70-year-old's coming to you.
Oh yeah.
And so I think kind of to get back on point though, mental health, it used to be taboo to talk about. We don't air our dirty laundry.
Yep.
And we're not. I'm not one of those type of people that wants to air the dirty laundry. Occasionally, you'll send me something, post on my social media, or I'll say something to my friends, or I'll make a video, and it's very personal. But I'm still at that point. Part of the reason I do that is for my recollection. It's not for everybody else.
Oh.
Look, Katie, she knows what I'm talking about. But part of that is for my recollection. So I'm not looking to air dirty laundry, and you're not really airing dirty laundry to the public. But sometimes you just need somebody to talk to, and that's
You
part
got
of
to
the
vent.
process.
You got to vent.
That's part of the process. And so I urge people who are struggling, get right with God. That's one thing. That's part of the process. Get your physician, your psychiatrist, whoever is maintaining your mental health diagnosis, and then find you a counselor.
Oh yeah.
It's somebody that is not a medical professional. This is somebody who is licensed, like a licensed therapist or a licensed counselor.
Oh yeah.
Get all that.
Well, let me ask you this question: what would happen with a vehicle that had no tailpipe whatsoever, and they decided to stick a bunch of stuff in there to block that venting from going out? What would happen to that vehicle? It would break down
Yep.
very quickly. It's the same way with our mental. If we do not release sometimes, and we choose how we release it, are we releasing it in a godly way, or are we releasing it through substances, or are we releasing it in other ways? Either way, you're going to have to release it. And
Right.
and if you don't, you will explode. And that was my problem. I did not release it.
I understand.
I would
Dude,
lay in bed and watch Star Wars, and that
dude,
was all I was doing.
you got to quit using the examples like that though, because all I could think about was Eddie Murphy taking the bananas and sticking them in the tailpipe.
Oh yeah,
Beverly Hills Cop.
oh yeah, yeah. That's it.
What happened? That's what happens. You got bananas in the tailpipe.
Yeah, yeah. That would be a good podcast name right there.
Bananas
Bananas.
in the
Oh,
tailpipe.
yeah.
That's good. Well, look, I know we're getting close to trying to get off this thing. Do you have any parting words? I mean, I kind of said my spiel. Seek help. You
Yeah.
know, there's nothing wrong with going to your pastor. There's nothing
No.
wrong with talking to somebody at church. I mean, there's people out there that they're paid to do this. They go to school for this. They know some ways to possibly help you in other ways that a pastor may not know how to.
Don't be silent. Call or text 988. Very important. If you're at that place of just completely breaking down, that's if you're in the States. Now, if you're not in the States, I really don't want to know what number you have. But I would also say this: forgive, forgive. For instance, if my childhood best friend is watching this, and I don't know if he will or not, I love you, man. And I don't hold you accountable for those things. You got to learn to forgive, even though people might be used as a tool to bring you there. That doesn't mean they're that tool forever. Because I've been that tool. I've been someone else's reason why they had blank or blank.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say forgive. Forgiveness is so important, because if you don't forgive, you're going to be resentful. And if you become resentful, you'll go to the dark side.
And
So,
you're bitter. And
yes.
you're just constantly bitter.
Yes.
Look, I think it's time to wrap this thing up. Good conversation. Something we always need to talk about.
Yeah.
Don't hold it in, people. And we appreciate you coming and listening to this or watching this. We're available on multiple outlets. You can see us on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, I do a video every week. I'll usually do a teaser, and then I'll do this video, and I kind of do some fun stuff with it. Please like and subscribe, share our YouTube. You can also catch us on the audio only. Right now, we're available on Podbean and on Apple Podcasts. You're just searching for On the Mic with Mike and Moose for all of this. We do have a Discord server in which Mike and I are both parts of. We've got up close to 400 people on it, and it's just a way for us to connect, a way for us to pray for each other, a way for us to ask questions for that, especially if you're a new believer. We do have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have our TikToks.
TikTok.
So many different ways that you can get in touch with us, and we want to connect with you. So we appreciate you coming and doing stuff, coming and listening to this. We hope that you can apply this to your everyday life. If you do need something, send us an email. We're Mike and Moose at 2025@gmail.com. That's a great way to get in touch with us. And if you need somebody to pray for you, we'll do that for you. So we appreciate comments, give us suggestions how we can improve this. And just want to let you know, I'm praying for you. And Mike, you got any parting words?
I love you. Stay connected, stay rooted.
God bless.
Yep.